This video is for anyone who is about to go into their naturalization interview, aka citizenship interview, or just for anyone who's wondering what that's all about in America when you're gonna get your citizenship. So here we go, because I just had my citizenship interview 2 weeks ago in that building behind me. It's the Jacob K. Javits Federal Building. I'm sure you're familiar with it if you have done anything with immigration in New York. That's the building you go to. So yeah, let me tell you my story. I'll make a separate video about why I chose to get my citizenship and all of that, but basically I decided to apply for my US citizenship in July this year, and I filled out the application online by myself. I did not use an attorney for 2 reasons. The first one is I'm very proficient in English, so I don't really need help with terms or anything like that. And secondly, I have lived in America for a really long time, so I figured that, coupled with the third reason, which is that this application is pretty straightforward, I did not need an attorney's help with this process. So I submitted my application online, and just make sure that if you are doing this on your own too, get a copy of your application. Download a copy of your application, because you will have the answers that you gave. If anything should come up in your interview down the line, you can have your paper right there and you can see, your answers and go from there. I didn't do that, and I spent a lot of time worrying about that fact. So definitely do that. Anyway, fast forward to my interview day. I got my interview notice about a month before I was due to go in. I did not have to go to biometrics because I'm already in the system for such a long time. I did biometrics years ago, so I'm good with that. So I went straight to the interview. I got my interview notice a month before. One tip about going to your interview: make sure you allow yourself enough time and just follow the directions in the interview notice. Those directions state that you can arrive early for your meeting, but don't arrive earlier than 30 minutes before your meeting. So definitely adhere to that, but arrive a few minutes before, because it will take time to check in and there might be a line and so on. When I arrived the morning of my citizenship interview, there was a very, very big line around the block, actually right here, of probably 500 people that had come across the border, and they were in a line designed for their processing. So I'm really glad I didn't go at the back of that line. I decided to go to the front of the line and just double check if that was the same line I was supposed to go in, and it wasn't. So definitely, the moment you arrive at the building, talk to someone and ask what line is for you, because there could be different lines for different cases. So I did not have to go in the line with 500 people. I actually was allowed to go straight in, and before you go into the main building nowadays, there is a security check-in, kind of like an airport situation. So you stand in line, you go through the metal detector, you put your jacket and stuff through that x-ray thing, and then you go into the main building. You have to take the elevator up to the borough office that represents your borough, and when you get to the floor you're supposed to check in at, you go right away to this check-in counter. There's multiple people sitting there behind parchments, and then you give your interview notice, you give your fingerprints, and you are told to either go and sit in that room or go around the corner on the same floor and sit in another similar waiting room and wait to be called for your actual interview. So the check-in process took maybe 5 minutes, and then I was on my merry way to that waiting room. I got to my waiting room. There was probably 500 other people there. It was very early in the morning, so this was, the beginning of the day for everyone. It was 8 a.m. So I sat down, just collected my papers and, had my coat and everything, and then I was called. Within 5 minutes, my name was called, and the person that calls your name and gets you in that room, that is the person that will be interviewing you. At least that was the case for me. So I followed a very nice officer into their office. The office looks like any normal office in America, like a corporate office or principal's office or something like that. And you have to take an oath or swear that you're going to tell the truth before you sit down, which made it very somber and real because I was like, is this the time where I'm gonna do the oath of allegiance? I thought that was later. Anyway, you take that oath and then you sit down, and the officer informs you that now the interview is about to start, and you are just, at least in my case, I just had to verify basic information I gave in my application, like super basic, what my name is, for example. And then you are asked a couple other questions. This is the part where it's most likely going to be different for you, but for me, it was very straightforward because I have been here so long and I have obeyed the law for so long, so I have a track record to refer to. So I was just asked one question about my travel history. When was the last time I traveled outside of America? And I was able to answer that approximately. Like I said, I didn't bring my, exact answers and travel dates like that. So definitely make sure you do that. And then there weren't any other questions or problems with my application. So I didn't have to, all my worry about not having a copy of my application with me and possibly have answered some travel dates wrong or something like that by a day or two. I was freaking out a little bit about maybe having a problem with that, but that wasn't a problem. At least my officer, showed understanding that it's hard if you have traveled a lot. It's hard to remember every single travel you took the last 5 years. I know I could look at my passport, but stamps weren't there and stuff. So anyway, back to my interview. I answered that question about travel, and then that was basically it. We moved on to the part that you may be familiar with, which is testing reading and writing. You just have to write one sentence on a stylus, and I believe I got actually I had to read out loud who elects Congress, and then I had to write on the stylus, the people elect Congress, something like that. So that was very easy and very pain-free. Either after or before the reading out loud and the writing on the stylus comes those famous questions that I hope you are studying for. The 100 questions about American history and important things about America. I was only asked 6 of those questions because you only have to get 6 correct, and I got every single one correct. So it's not hard at all if you start studying when you get your appointment notice. That would be my only little tip for you, to start right away. It is 100 questions, so you should, do a few take a break for a week, do more, take a break for a week, and they are pretty easy to remember, so I wouldn't stress too much about it. Just start with enough time in advance. And then you are basically asked to sign, like you can see if you are likely approved. You can see on like this iPad, you have to sign that you declare that your answers are true and stuff. You can kind of see that you're approved and you're about to get your naturalization, your oath of allegiance appointment in the mail soon. So that's what happened to me. There's no big like, woo, congrats. It's just like, we are recommending you for citizenship, and your notice for oath of allegiance will come in the mail. I hope that's helpful.